Before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping rules. Number one, all participants are requested to keep their microphones on mute and their videos switched off so that we don't have any disturbances to the speakers. And we are sure some of you have questions that you want to ask us to our speakers. So please feel free to put them in the chat box and we will take them up on your behalf at the Q&A section, which is at the end of this webinar. So hello and welcome everyone to PhysioConcepts Education's latest episode of the Backstage Stories, where we dive deep into the relationship between the athlete and the physio. And we get an exclusive insight into how this relationship works and how each of them help the other to grow. Our today's guests are absolute experts of their fields, and we are very thankful and very excited to host them on Backstage Stories. Our first guest today is Mr. Abhishek Nair, who is an international cricketer and who has captained and represented the Mumbai Ranji team over multiple seasons. He is currently part of the coaching staff at the Kolkata Knight Riders Indian Premier League team, and he is currently in Dubai. So we're just waiting for him to join. Uh, his cricketing knowledge and his work ethics are revered throughout the country, and that has allowed him to transition into the role of a mentor. And he is someone that a lot of cricketers look up to. So we are really thrilled to have Abhishek joining us, having played at the highest level for so many years himself, and now having transitioned into the role of a mentor. I think he is perfectly placed to answer our questions regarding how a physio can help an athlete grow and how a physio can help the coach and the supporting staff in the team uh, manage the team as such. Our second guest for today is Mr. Vaibhav Daga, who is the head of sports science and rehab department at the Kokilaben Hospital Center for Sports Medicine. He has been associated in the past with Board of Control for Cricket in India and the Indian Premier League as consultant physiotherapist. He has worked for many years with the Mumbai Cricket Association as a specialist physiotherapist, and hundreds of cricketers have benefited from his expertise of assessing and treating cricketing injuries. What sets Mr. Vaibhav Daga apart from other physios is the long relationship that he has shared with Mr. Abhishek Nair for more than 20 years now. Abhishek and Vaibhav met during the year 2000-2001, which were Abhishek's under 17 days, and since then they have remained close friends and colleagues. This long-term relationship sets the foundation for our questions, and we are sure they can answer them to the best of their abilities. So without further delay, let's get started. My first question is to Vaibhav sir. So how did physiotherapy come about as a profession? Was it planned? Was it something that just happened? And how have you built your career over so many years?
Physio happened. Definitely, it was. I had planned to become a doctor because family being a doctor, my father being an orthopedic surgeon. So I was always inclined towards medicine, and of course I wanted to become a doctor and a sports medicine doctor and so on and so forth because of my involvement into the sport. I used to play most of the sports. I played cricket, I played football, I played hockey for my school, for my college, and whatever sports possible. So it was, inclination towards sports was great. I used to follow cricket a lot. Definitely, cricket was something which I loved from my heart. I mean, in my childhood days, I used to be crazy about cricket. Yes, medicine happened. Of course, then I thought the closest one to get back to, because I was always interested in physical fitness, exercise, sport. And so physiotherapy happened, and that was the best chance to get close to orthopedics, because orthopedics always is complemented by physio. And that's how my interest grew. And that's the way I joined physiotherapy. And then, yes, my inclination towards sports made me a sports physio, or made me get into sports science and physio deeper and deeper.
So, sir, you had traveled abroad for higher studies, and can you share some of your experiences there of how how rich that experience was and how it made you into a better physio, having going abroad and getting exposure at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, going abroad was always, I mean, see, before completed my master's, I had started getting the offers with the BCC, and I started traveling with the India A team, India under 19 teams. And that made me get exposed to the setup abroad, the cricket setup abroad, the kind of approach they have in sports physiotherapy, especially in cricket. My first ever tour with the Indian team was in England, and we were like um, we were playing all the counties that time because we were the India A team and we were playing. So it was a very good help for me to understand how the setup is there and what do the physios think. I mean, interacting with the physios, the international physios, and then. So I decided that if I have to do my higher studies, I'll definitely go outside and do it, or do it maybe offshore wise also, and going there for a while. And that's what I exactly did. I've been there for a while. Then I did an offshore course, coming and going, because I was busy working with cricket for all these years. Uh, and it's definitely, I mean, what you get to learn from there now, of course, we can proudly say that we in India as physios are very well equipped now. I mean, we understand what is required, and today our Indian physios are also uh, to the level of the international physios, although we are building up. But the youngsters who are listening into this, they should understand that, I mean, to get the best out of it, I mean, of course, you have to be dedicated, you have to be knowledge. That's thing. But never stop learning. First of all, I mean, learn from others, observe others. I mean, it's always the best thing to do, and that's what I did, and that's helped me going abroad, studying here, studying abroad, touring abroad, and interacting with these various international physios has always helped me.
Right. I think I think you've made it very clear to us how important having the right balance between academics and experience is. So the next question is, can you share us your insights on cricketing injuries? Which are the type of injuries you most often see, and what is your approach in assessing and managing these injuries?
See, the game is being evolved. I mean, since I started in cricket, which was in, I believe, in 99, 98, 99 season, 99 2000 season, which was my first year with Maharashtra Ranji Trophy team, and since then the game has evolved so much. I mean, even internationally, definitely everybody knows the T20s have started, the one days have got more famous. Um, so yeah, injuries per se, what we commonly see, of course, because it's a running sport, the most common, according to the literature, the most commonest injury is definitely the hamstring injuries, what they have found in a 10-year study back in Australia. Uh, Unfortunately, we don't have a consensus and we don't have our studies in India. But definitely, I would say yes, lower limb injuries, because it's a running sport, definitely it's going to be happening. I mean, when we talk about cricket, our textbooks always talk about fast bowling, lower back, stress injuries. Yeah, yes, they are common. I wouldn't say they're uncommon. They are definitely. You have to be very careful about that. So those are the kind of injuries. So the lower limb muscle injuries, fast. I mean, the back injuries, and as well as the shoulders. These are the commonest injuries I have seen all through my career, uh, very frequently.
Right. And as a physio, when an athlete comes to you with an injury, how do you go about assessing and managing it? And are there any sort of areas of focus that you as a physio have over the years with your experience understood which you kind of focus on?
See, the best thing is if you're a team physiotherapist, if you're with the team, I mean, you're observing with the team or with the individual sportsman, and you're observing. So you never let a moment alone when you don't observe the every movement of the sport he's doing or she's doing. I mean, your attention should be on the field when the match is on or when the game is on, and that makes you learn. And also, I mean, because if an injury happens, you're always looking at the player, what is happening. You get, I mean, for me, once I see a player landing today, also if I watch sport on the television, I see a football injury. I mean, I follow football pretty dearly. I follow cricket pretty dearly. If I see and there is an injury happening, I have started building up a kind of a hypothesis. Okay, no, this looks like this was the injury mechanism, and this looks like an ACL. Probably no, this is an ankle sprain. And I mean, yesterday I was watching one of the football matches of my favorite club, a preseason game, and the goalkeeper landed awkwardly, and I said, "Oh, this looks like a syndesmosis sprain." So it is observation is very important, and if you pay attention to every details of the movement what the player has done, you have you have built up an hypothesis about the diagnosis till you reach them. So that really helps you. So it's very important as a physio, as a team physio. If anybody who intends to get into sports, I'm sure most of you all are, you should be very dedicated to watch the game, watch the mechanism. So when the player is active, see him. And when it's very important to observe, and kind of that helps you to even plan your treatment ahead.
Right. I mean, this kind of brings back a few memories for me also. When you're watching football or when you're watching cricket and with friends, and then let's say there's a tackle during football and everyone else shouts, "Oh, should be a card," and you are thinking, "What was that? What was it? The ligament? Was it the muscle?" So that kind of can put you in awkward situations, but that's the amount of dedication that is
Yeah,
required,
I mean
definitely.
that comes naturally. That very comes naturally to me, because I've been into sports and team as a team physios or as an individual physio with the sportsman all these years. Last 3 years, yes, I have been dedicated to the hospital now, but otherwise I have been just with the sportsman on the field. So it comes very naturally to me when I start observing their movements and how they're going. And I mean, certainly with experience, you get to know, is he moving properly? Is he hiding some injury? Is there some issue with him? So that's a big challenge. I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I think Abhishek had joined in for a moment. Is he there? Abhishek, are you there with us? Yeah, I think he's facing technical issues.
No, he's not. I mean, if you
Yeah,
search the
he came
participants,
in.
we can't see him.
Yeah, he came in for a bit and again I sort of left.
Yeah, there is definitely a big technical issue
Yeah.
going on there.
All right. So let's move on with the next question. So cricket as a sport involves a lot of traveling and involves a lot of time spent on the road, whether it be internationally or whether it be in the domestic circuit. So how, as a physio, uh, should you be managing the athlete during these travels? Because since most of the time is spent traveling.
Uh, yes, and if you are a sports physio and you are, I mean, usually sports physios, there's a lot of travel involved. There's a lot of travel involved. So you maybe with cricket, with any team, I mean, there you have to be dedicated. Um, Managing an athlete, see, your duty starts when you wake up. All right, on a tour when you wake up, and it never ends when the match is over. So, for example, let me give you an example of an IPL. In an IPL scheduling, we used to have, of course, we used to have late matches, the night matches, which used to get over by around 11ish, 12ish, and if uh, uh, suppose there are some other, I mean, finishing the press briefings and everything with the players. So with the team, we come back late in the night by 1 o'clock. But your day has already started when you've woken up. After you have a breakfast, because there are players to attend throughout the day. Then the match is happening. Match also you have to be attentive. As I said, observation is very necessary. And after you come back, their recovery or their whatever their recovery processes, we got to help in that. So it's a tough thing, but assessing. I mean, you should have a dedicated. As you said, can you repeat the question once again? What you said?
So when the athlete is on the road, like they are traveling most of the year, what are the factors that as a physio we need to focus on to keep the athlete fit for the match?
Yeah, I mean, see, things are basically, you have to plan it out. You have to definitely make a plan, a solid plan. I mean, before you start traveling, you give them a briefing. I used to usually follow a practice of giving them handouts regarding, I mean, your role starts when the tour is planned. So you got to know about the local area. Probably if you're taking a flight, you should know what kind of a travel time it is, what they should take care, because most of the athletes, if they are somebody in the team may be traveling for the first time in a flight. I mean, taking a long flight for 15, 16 hours. So the issues of DVT, the issues of the travel sickness, the issues of because of the time change, there will be other factors to it. So you got to understand that and brief them how to uh, uh, give them a handout. Possibly I used to do the practice of giving them a complete information about the place where we go. For suppose we're going to Australia, so probably a city called Brisbane. So if you're going there, I'm going to take the history. What is the weather, climate? What kind of clothing? So this is all of physio's roles when you interact. When you mean as a cricket team physio, we used to have the camps before we left. So there was an idea to get all that information and give it to the players. So and they can because the jet lag is a big factor. Travel sickness is a big factor. DVT, as you know, air travel does cause DVTs. Everybody knows that. So we need to be, of course, the in-flight, the airlines also give you the briefing, but from there it starts, because they land up sitting for a long time, and when they get off the flight, there's a back pain. So there is kind of movement. So your education to them starts right from there. Okay, assessing, of course, as you go ahead, and of course the injury happens, it's normal, like an assessment, how you do. As I said, if you can observe the injury happening, you have won half the battle. So you understand what you build up your own hypothesis of about a diagnosis. Of course, the diagnosis is very important for your management to go further. So that these are the things. I mean, if you observe it, you do it, and then of course when you have time, when he's off the field, definitely you do your all clinical tests, you do your clinical examination, and so on and so forth. And treatment wise, it is a challenge. So if you have done your homework before, I mean, there is a medical issue, if somebody's sick, you need to know the local doctors. You should understand what are the numbers of the parent or the host association or host team which is hosting us, to see they have given us all the briefing about the medical numbers and so on and so forth, the hospitals and everything. So these are the background checks, what you got to do before you got to tick those boxes. It's always nice to plan your day out. I mean, plan your travel out. You have those, you probably get it printed out or write down the point somewhere and just check those boxes. Okay, my travel kit is, I mean, because you need to travel with a big kit. That's important. That kitting, everything has to be there. I would suggest whoever travels, you should have everything available at your hand, even like a small Fevi stick. I mean, you never know when you would need that, like to stick anything or whatever. It's a small thing, but all those details have to be there. So you have to ensure the kit is proper. You have to ensure you have to check the background checks with the host association, the local weather, the travel time, jet lag. These are the preparation for travel. And as you get there, of course, you should see that you have to be attentive to the guys. Of course, there will be a situation when you're treating somebody and the injury happens. That also happens. Give it time. Give it time to listen. Listen. I mean, history taking, that's what we do in clinical examination. So history taking in a sports person is about he describing how did he injure himself. Sometimes when you're treating somebody, usually avoid that, to treat somebody during the match or something. It is better to just observe the whole game, because there are 11 players in the team if you're talking about cricket or football or hockey. But that's the most important thing. Yeah. And so on and so forth. Go ahead. The clinical examination, of course, quick clinical examination on field is again a little bit different. You have to decide quickly. If the athlete can continue, if not, so these are the various factors. Yeah. Has he joined in?
Yeah. So no, I think we're still waiting for him to join in.
Just let me ask him once again.
Sure, sure. Yeah, let's do that.
He's still struggling, Satish. He's still struggling with that because it's connecting and disconnecting on its own.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think the best we can do is wait and hope that he joins us because I have some very good questions that I want Abhishek to answer for us as well. So we'll wait it out. And
Yeah,
in the
no problem.
meantime,
He's trying it for the last. He's saying 5 more minutes. Let me try again.
yeah, yeah,
He says the
definitely.
Wi-Fi is not great, and he's trying to hit his phone network uh, and the local phone network and everything, but it's still a big issue there. It looks like.
Right.
Okay.
So let's move on with the next question for you. So almost every cricketer today is playing all the three formats of the game. The test or the days, which is considered to be the toughest one. Then there are the ODIs and then the T20s, which is the shortest format, but is equally taxing. So how, as a physio, do we plan out a training chart for a player in an environment where there is hardly any time for rest? And what would be the umbrella factors or the overarching factors that you really want to focus on, or you want the player to be aware of for them to avoid injuries or for them to avoid uh, fatigue so that they're ready for the match?
See, in all the factors, the most important factor for me is recovery. So recovery
Right.
is the key. Recovery and rest is the key. How you recover from the in between the games, in between the days of play, in between the activities you do, is the key. So for me, and that's what is talked about. I mean, I'm sure most of you all would have come across a lot of literature on training loads. So it's the most important thing. I mean, the increase in training loads have seen injuries happening more, less of recovery. Again, the injuries is happening more. So we need to educate the athlete. The most important factor is to educate the athlete and understand their own bodies. I mean, you will end up with a youngster with an under 19 team. You don't ever know, under 16, under 19. They're all very enthusiastic. They want to give everything out. They want to they want to play, they want to train, they want to practice, they want to do everything possible. They don't want to skip it at all. But you need to have a pause button with them. I mean, they should understand. They should stop, think if they're doing too much, look for the overtraining syndromes. That's the key factor as a physio, and that's how the training should be planned. You interact with your multidisciplinary team, because these days every team would have a strength and conditioning specialist, the coaches, of course, and you are the physio. So you are the guy who's looking into the medical part of it. So you should understand about the loads and about the training, and how. So for me, in all these formats, key is recovery. Yes, you said test is the toughest. I would say T20 is the toughest. IPL is the toughest. I would say IPL is the toughest. Yes, IPL involves back-to-back matches, and you're playing for 3 hours. Yes, but your intensity is pretty high, more than the test matches. Okay, in test matches you get time to recover. That's the real cricket. Yes, I mean, if you're a cricket follower, you see the real cricket. That is long days happening. I mean, there gets the cricket skills out. But if you talk about fitness, if you talk about fitness, your physical abilities, T20 is the major thing. I believe the shorter the game, the tougher it is, because the intensity is going to be high, and when the intensity is high, injuries are going to happen. And that's how you have to see. So in a setup, for an example, in an IPL setup today, they are in Dubai right now. Most of them right now, they have planned it very well, because of course the COVID situation, that they have quarantining days and everything. So these are all the factors. But when they start with their matches also, I'm sure they're going to play very, very frequently in a week. Probably in a week, they might play 2 matches or maybe 3 matches. You never know. So the time in between, you don't have to push them to train there. You don't have to push them to train. If you monitor them, and if you think their recovery is less, if you're noting down each and every loads, you're doing the training load charting, so you would definitely understand how are they going. And if you feel they've gone overboard, they have been overtrained, pull them back. It's very important. It's very important. You are the guy who's going to, you're the person who's going to do that for you. That's why. So that sense, to understand about the format, so about the intensity, and the recovery is the main thing. Even in test matches, not necessarily you're going to be fielding all 5 days, not necessarily you're going to be batting all 5 days, but in between the test matches, don't push them to train if they are a part of the 11, and if they know it's useless. You understand about their bodies, help them recover. If the recovery is good, they're fresh, they perform better. And that's what it is. Performance enhancement is why we are there with them for, as physios.
Right. So when we look at cricket, and these conversations happen a lot now recently, the type of injuries that we see, depending on the skill set of the player, might be different. So the way we are looking at a wicket keeper is different. The way we are looking at a bowler, whether a fast bowler and a spinner, is different, and the way we are looking at a batsman is different. So how do you what is your take on that? Like, the type of injuries that we would see, do they differ in the different skill set? And how does one go about managing the loads for these specific skills?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they do differ individually, of course, it's not necessarily that there's a lot of difference, but yes, of course, the positionally, I mean, possibly a wicket keeper is not going to get a stress reaction or a stress fracture to the lower back as a fast bowler would get, possibly, because it's not that. But at the same time, he might get the lower back pain or any kind of a diving injury, any kind of an impact injury, because he's so close to the batsman, so close to the wicket. So there is definitely going to be difference, and the management is going to differ accordingly. But yes, most of them do have to run. So everybody has to bat, everybody has to field for sure. These are the difference between the wicket keeper and bowler, is that only the wicket keeper is basically at his place. There is.
Finally, we have him.
Finally here.
Perfect.
Traumatic Sunday morning. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
No worries. No worries, Abhishek. We're just happy you are here. Finally.
So I'll just complete this question, Nairi.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Uh, so, so yeah, the injuries do differ from the position. It's not only about cricket, but every sport. The position you will get different kind of injuries. But being a running sport, definitely lower limb muscle injuries or ligament injuries are pretty common, and you would definitely get them. Uh, so that's, and the assessment and the treatment, of course, will be accordingly managed, depending upon what kind of injuries they face.
Right. So we have Abhishek finally here, and I would just I would like to go back a bit to where we started. And Abhishek, this question is for you.
Yeah.
You have played at the highest level for so many years, and now have transitioned successfully into a coaching role. So tell us about your journey as a cricketer. How did it start? And which are the events that you consider to be your personal milestones, first as a cricketer and now as a mentor?
Well, I think it started very early in terms of my career and stuff like that. But for me, I think through my journey of a cricketer, for me, uh, there have been certain junctures in my life that kind of defined who I was as an individual. I think as a cricketer, everyone achieves a lot through their skill and different kind of things. But for me, I think when I was younger, the kind of coaches I had, the kind of support I had, I think that's what benefited me a lot in terms of me achieving what I wanted to go out and achieve in terms of a cricketer. But milestones, if I have to put that right, I think a couple of there were kind of three. The first time I played for Mumbai at the under 16 level, I think you always want to first get into the system young. So for me, getting into the system at the under 16 level, getting to work with trainers, coaches, physios at that age gave me a lot of understanding of my body, understanding of what a cricketer to play professional cricket needs. Then the second, milestone for me was getting into the first class circuit, which was again an important area for any cricketer because you go and you learn a completely different set of skills once you start playing first class cricket and higher level of cricket. And I think post that was IPL. I think these were three landmarks in terms of defining me as a cricketer. Um Also, yes, playing for India was important, but I think once I played IPL, playing for India just was like just a stepping stone. There wasn't much of a difference because the standard was very similar to playing international cricket. But I think just in terms of my mentoring, to answer the second part of your question, I think my years in the sport, my years as a cricketer, my years spending time with top coaches, top trainers, top physios, top mental conditioning coaches, it taught me a lot. Going through and failing a lot in my career gave me a better understanding and perspective of how I need to approach my career as a mentor. I never thought of becoming a mentor. I think the word mentor or the coach is more about wanting to help people. And I think growing up as a cricketer, becoming a cricketer from a youngster to a senior in any team automatically teaches you the role of mentoring someone, coaching someone, guiding someone. And I think I just carried that on. I started doing that
Right.
in the last 3-4 years of my career for Mumbai. I think Vaibhav knows that when he was part of the Ranji Trophy team, when I was with Chandrakant sir, Chandu sir, kind of helping the younger cricketers. I think that is where the transition happened. Started with Rohit Sharma, I think around the 2011 World Cup, and then since then, I've been blessed enough to help a lot of cricketers. So the transition for me was easy. Milestones, I don't think there are any milestones in terms of my coaching and mentoring yet, but hopefully in the future I'll be able to talk about those things.
Yeah. We are all very aware in the Mumbai circuit about how youngsters look up to you and about for your work ethics and the cricketing knowledge. Vaibhav sir gave us an insight from a physio perspective about cricketing injuries. And it is said that elite athletes barely have a day when they are playing without any aches and pains. And that's the level of physical demands and the loads that athletes of today have to bear. What has been your experience with injuries during your career?
Well, I don't know if I have to be proud about this or sad, but I think I've been on the side where I've known everything there needs to know about injuries. I know it well enough to treat myself at times, but uh, you know, uh, I feel for me, injuries have kind of defined my career, if I could say that. When I got into the Indian team, I don't really talk about it a lot, and only people I normally are very close to I talk about it. But for me, my injuries were or my surgeries were career defining. when I got into the Indian setup and I was trying to make a name for myself there, and 3 years into the IPL, I had this carpal bossum syndrome on my wrist. And, at that point of time, no one could diagnose it. I got a lot of MRI scans done, but no radiologist could even diagnose that I had a carpal bossum syndrome. Because the first diagnosis I had at NCA was of a fracture in my wrist. And I literally
Okay.
spent 2.5 months of my career, that was from being in the Indian team to then getting out of the third game and not playing the third IPL, only because I wasn't diagnosed correctly. Post that, I got diagnosed correctly, and I went through a surgery, and the surgery didn't happen properly because that was at that point of time we didn't have the sports culture, sports injuries in India weren't addressed as much, 10, 12 years back, as much as it is today. So for me, I think as a cricketer, uh, it's the most important part of a cricketer is actually trying to make sure that even if you are fit and, like Vaibhav said, you have niggles and have injuries, it's not serious. I think for me, when I developed niggles, we didn't really understand how to deal with it at that point. We were pretty young. We thought, we're youthful, nothing can happen to us and stuff like that. But for us, for me as an individual, my career has actually been defined by injuries. I've had 6 surgeries, and I've had loads. We all have fractures and broken fingers, broken ribs. You get used to playing tournaments with that. You get used to bearing the pain. But I think it's as a cricketer, like Vaibhav said, you wake up in the morning, and if you can walk straight, you're happy. I think that's what you take at the end of the day. But it's tough, but that's the name of the game.
Right. I think that I think this experience with injuries in your career has really placed you in that position where you can really guide the upcoming and young athletes
Yeah.
for what they need to look at when they are facing these injuries.
So
So
I think,
yeah,
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 you
go
want to
ahead,
continue?
go ahead. No, no,
Anything else?
no,
Yeah. So I
no, no.
think, so for younger cricketers, I think what I realized a little late was self-awareness. I think a lot
Right.
of times we take our body for granted. We feel as youngsters, that our body can support whatever craziness we want. I did that a lot. I overtrained. I overworked my body. I always felt working hard was equivalent to success, because that's what we were taught growing up. We were taught about quantity over quality. What I realized over these past few years is that sometimes giving time to quality of your training sessions, quality of your skill sessions is far superior than giving it quantity. So just understanding and self-awareness of what your body is like, how your body reacts, your nutritional values, what you put into your system is now a key aspect for any sportsman. Treatment. A lot of times when we were young, Vaibhav can concur, senior players, if we went and sat on a physio table, would always say like, अरे यार physio के table में पूरा time रहता है, treatment पूरा time लेता है. But I felt that because of that fear of what a senior player would say or think, a lot of times we didn't actually go and address those niggles. The first time you felt you had a tight shoulder, you wanted to get your infraspinatus released, you wouldn't, just because you felt a senior would think that you're getting treatment done. So I felt just being aware and being open to approaching a physio, having discussions, understanding body, understanding movements, understanding what area of your body in terms of biomechanics does it affect. If you're a bowler, your action, the chances of your injury, where all can you get injured, can you hurt your back, can you hurt your knee, does your front leg get braced. So those things, I think sometimes the communication between a physio, the coach, and the player is really important, because once you have that and the player understands, okay, this is my body, this is my action, this is the way I bat, these are the areas where I tend to hit, I get more power in, these are the areas I don't get power in, why don't I get power there, what can I do biomechanically, what can I do in terms of training, what can I do in terms of rehab, why am I not stable, why am I not stronger here, are my glutes firing. These small things and this understanding of your body, of the biomechanics of your body is key for any young cricketer. Once you do that, and vice versa, even for the physio, once you understand the biomechanics of a body, once you understand the biomechanics and the action of a bowler or the patterns of a batsman, the skill set, of a batsman. There are certain bowlers who come and clock 140, 145, and that's their strength, right? So you want them to train to be able to bowl like a 145 bowler. You don't want them to train like a bowler like me who used to bowl 125 and bowl long spells, because our training patterns will be very different to a training pattern of, say, a Bretley or a younger fast bowler just with Bumrah. That'll be more power oriented, short, sharp bursts. But for me, I was more an endurance based person, so my training was more endurance based. So I think it's just understanding of that science is what helps a cricketer and the support staff in making sure that he can achieve great limits.
Right. I think that's these are very important points that you put forth. So we were talking with Vaibhav sir about the three formats that almost all the cricketers are playing today, and the amount of physical and mental load that there is on the players. So in such an environment, when there are hardly any time for rest, how important is the role of the physio to a cricket team, and how, give us your take on it, like the relationship that a physio has with the player.
Well, I can safely say if we didn't have a physio, I wouldn't have been able to play post 25. I can safely say that for me, and for anyone. I think the first question everyone asks these days at the start of a season is, team ka physio kaun hai?
Right.
Every cricketer will come and say, "Arey, physio corner," because everyone is so keen, because they know and they understand the importance of now, with the awareness around. They understand the importance of staying fit, and the importance of physio and player relationship. A lot of people don't understand it, but I have a great relationship with all the physios I've worked with, only because I understand that without them, there is no way that, not only through cricket, but even today, there are a lot of times when I need to get treated. Even today, there are a lot of times that I need to get my shoulder released or back released. But for me, the physio today is basically a need of life. It's almost like going to a doctor. I actually would go more frequently to a physiotherapist than I would to a normal doctor for medication. So because whenever you're working out or whatever, it's just like I said, the small niggles turn out to be big injuries if you don't treat them early. So for me, through my career, uh, my relationship with the physio is really important, and the physio's relationship with me is very important, because a lot of times as a cricketer, as a sports person in general, you may carry niggles, and it's really important for that physio to understand the amount that you can handle on the field. I've actually had a few physios, I don't want to name them, growing up, who have actually kind of gone and reported niggles, and I haven't been able to make a Ranji Trophy debut thanks to that. It's something that could have been sorted very easily, but because there was no understanding and communication between the both of us, my Ranji Trophy debut got delayed by 3 years. You know,
Right.
on the contrary, say Vaibhav and me, we've been there since under 16. So today, if I'm going to work with Vaibhav knows exactly who Abhishek Nair is. Abhishek Nair exactly knows who Vaibhav is. So if the relationship, I'm not even talking about Abhishek Nair, the cricketer, and I'm not even talking about Vaibhav Daga, the physio. Just the individual, the human being, the trust levels will help us, grow together. And I feel a lot of times when a physio comes in, they try to show authority in terms of what they know, rather than understand the cricketer first. And I feel, Vaibhav is on this platform, and I feel Vaibhav's biggest strength has been his communication. And I feel which is why most cricketers are comfortable around him, or to speak to him or pick up the phone even at night and say, Vaibhav, my shoulder's hurting, without worrying about Vaibhav going and telling a coach that his shoulder is hurting, should we play him or not. They know at that point Vaibhav will have his back. So I feel that relationship, besides the knowledge you have, is very important between a physio and player. Once you develop that, once you have that trust, once you have that family like culture between each other, it just becomes easy for a player to trust the physio, to go and tell him his smallest problems, because of which the physio will be able to affect his career in the right way. So a lot of times players hide injuries because they're worried about physios reporting them, and it completely spoils the whole relationship. So I feel that is a very important dynamic that a physio has to keep in mind, and so does a player, because it's a two-way connection. The player has to work towards the physio, and the physio has to take that effort towards the player as well. So it's a two-way
Right.
dynamic, and once you can achieve that, the whole relationship evolves, and then it becomes very easy even for the physio to treat a player, and the player to get treated easily.
Right. I mean, and I think that's the crux of this series that we do, the backstage stories, because we want people to become more aware about the intimate relationship that physios and players share, and how they can help each other grow in their own fields. And it really goes beyond professional relationship. It's more sort of a friendship, and and family like culture, like you said. And that's what brings the fun in this profession
Absolutely.
as well. So the next question is about the mental aspect, and this one is to Vaibhav sir. We have come, like, recently there have been conversations about mental health, and I think that's a step ahead for physios and cricketers in the cricketing circuit. But we recently had Glenn Maxwell come out and say that he was facing mental issues and he needed a break from the game. So Vaibhav sir, how can physios help the athlete to cope up with mental pressures of the game?
See, it's very important. I mean, if you're the only medical person, or you're the only science background person close to the team, and as Abhishek said, keep how you development of a relationship. It's a team is a family, and you should gain that. You as a physio should gain the trust. Definitely, as a role of a physio, if you talk about uh, athletes' health, athletes' well-being is the more epitome. Nothing else is epitome more than the athlete's health and his well-being. He needs to be he needs to perform the best. If he is in the right state of physical and mental state, then only he can perform the best and give his best. So whatever it is, if they are, uh, you should be working with a team or with an athlete with your eyes and ears open, so you observe. If you feel that this particular person or this particular athlete is looking a little bit down, his body language is not right, you should understand and try and understand. That's why I said my thing is, I put a lot of stress onto observation. The observation gives you a lot of learning. You understand. Sometimes these athletes who are not handling it mentally, they might not open out to you, but you can observe it around. You can at least feel that. And only when you have that trust, what Abhishek mentioned with the physio, then he will open out, and then you can talk about him. You can advise him accordingly with whatever knowledge you have, or refer him further if you think he needs a further management, maybe to a sports psychologist, maybe to a mental trainer, whoever it is. Maybe a coach. Possibly his understanding with the coach will be different, and his understanding with the physio will be different. So you can make aware the coach. Yeah, I feel this is happening in this athlete. So it's very important you to understand all those things, and you'll only understand when you treat the team or the athlete's company. For example, you're working with an individual athlete. In today, individual athlete also has his own team, so that's like a family. And when you're in a family, your relationship is completely different.
Right. So, Abhishek, this one's for you. How tough is it mentally for a young cricketer who's, coming up in the ranks to cope with these challenges of international cricket or IPL? And how do you see a physio's role in helping the athlete here?
Well, I think it is tough. Everyone knows that it's not easy. Luckily, a lot of times, people talk about cricket in India and sport in India. Sport in general in India, you look back and see most sports are played by underprivileged kids. You'll see kids who've come through tough conditions, tough circumstances growing up. So the pressure part of it, I think they face a lot. They faced a lot more pressure in life compared to what they do on a field. So a lot of the guys would actually see would come and embrace the pressure on the field because they know it's a lot better than going home not knowing whether you're going to get another meal or not. And a lot of cricketers, a lot of sportsmen actually go through that growing up. So I feel now the younger generation is much more prepared. The younger generation is when we were growing up, we were guys who were in our shell. We didn't talk a lot. We didn't express. But I feel this younger generation today is all about a generation who wants to come and showcase their skill. They want to be there and they want to stake a claim, whether that be via Instagram or social media or whatever it is. People are out there. They want people to see them. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be understood. I feel this in terms of a physio understanding a cricketer and the importance. I think the most important thing is, like I said, the physio giving them enough information. I think a lot of times it's a very thin line, and if I don't understand, you can ask me. We can talk about it in detail. But I always believe there's a difference between uh, telling someone what to do and suggesting someone as to what he can do. I feel the Indian mentality is where we tell people that this is what you should do. I feel that a lot of times uh, the culture of learning to suggest to someone what can be done and giving the person the onus to take the responsibility to take that step is very important. And I feel
Right.
that is a learning that should come into not only physios but a support staff in general when they work with the player, because a lot of people, there's a lot of information available today. You just have to pick up your phone, you Google how to treat your shoulder. Google will come up with 1,000 ways you can. So there is information
Yeah.
out there, right? So a lot of times when a physio or a doctor or anyone comes out and says very sternly or confidently that this is what you should do and nothing else, a player in his mind always cross questions that. But if a
Right.
physio or a trainer who's knowledgeable would come and give you options as to this is what you have and maybe this is what we could do and this is what we could do, and give him a complete understanding of the situation before it's assessed and treated, I feel helps building the relationship not only personally but professionally, because eventually
Right.
the player has to trust the physio's knowledge. A lot of times we
Right.
directly go and we start treating someone, and I'm sure there's stages in physiotherapy as well where you go, you assess someone, you understand, you communicate, and then you treat or whatever it is. But a lot of times I've seen a physio will directly come and say that, okay, no, let's treat your shoulder. He lies down on the bed and he knows, and you and directly get into what needs to be done. But I think that communication, that suggesting rather than sternly telling someone what needs to be done is very important. And I feel,
Right.
rightly, like Vaibhav said, in terms of the mentality, having a good physio gives you the assurance that you can go out and give your 100% on the field. I can promise you, if you don't have a good physio on your side, as a cricketer, you're always trying to save your body. You're always worried about giving your best in the middle. Knowing that you have a very good physio inside who can treat you gives you the opportunity to go out and express yourself wholeheartedly, and knowing that even if something has to happen, you're in safe hands.
Right. I mean, that's really important coming from a player who's played at the highest level, because it kind of sends the message to physios who at times, like you said, are more worried about reporting injuries and more about process the protocols than actually helping the athlete grow in that sport.
Yeah.
So last question to both of you from my end. So for Vaibhav sir, you and Abhishek have shared this close relationship both as colleagues and friends for more than 20 years now. And I'm sure you both have shared many memorable moments together. So Vaibhav sir, tell us about one of your memorable moments with Abhishek. And then Abhishek, I would like you to share with us your most memorable moment with Vaibhav sir.
Ah, I mean, there've been quite a few. I cannot pick out one, but there've been quite a few. I mean, as I said, our relationship goes back from his under 17 days, from the time, you know, these were these were teenagers then, and I was in my probably late 20s or something, and I mean, as the teenagers, they go to school, they will trouble. And for the matter of fact, I was once kind of an in charge where we used to stay. You know, we were in a we were put up in a hotel in Bandra because our academy was running at MIG, and I had to control. I was like a rector or whatever you call that, hostelman.
Deep, deep.
Right.
So we had fun. I mean, there was fun moments from their side, and Nairi was. I call him Nairi Abhishek. It's his nickname. He's been brilliant always. I mean, to tell you the truth, he's the team man every cricketer should look up to, every physio should look up to. He's there to help everybody. If you be a physio, you be a cricketer, he's there for everybody. I mean, he takes care of the team bonding sessions very well, and he looks out. He's a team man, and it has been and his cricketing record speaks for himself. I mean, he has got that Mumbai. attitude.
Mhm.
I remember one instance. I believe that he was talking about his the hand injury, the carpal tunnel syndrome. What he was talking about. It happened in India, and then when we were on tour to Australia, right, Abhi?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
that's where he got hit.
yeah.
But and the match was at a crucial juncture. He was still there. "Arey, kuch nahi." I went onto the field. I said, "Will you be able to continue?" Well, kuch nahi, tu pas spray maar, main kar leunga. He had to finish the game. That was his kind of dedication, and I cannot forget these kind of instances. To the matter of fact, in the when the last Ranji Trophy season, what I did with Mumbai, and he was there. He was made in charge of the extracurricular activities. He was, and he had. We had a dancing competition in Hyderabad, and groups of players had to choreograph their own dances and everything. And he put me in one of the dances also. So
Right.
that was fun. But it has been a great relationship, and it has been great to learn from him also about what the cricketers think. And he's a very he's an individual who knows about cricket. Who knows about sports science also. And I used to joke about him, you are going to become a trainer after you finish your cricket. I always used to tell him that, because he used to start training people when because initially when I started my career, I was the trainer come physio with these boys, and I used to train them. And this guy, he used to show his own exercises to other people, get them training, give them training. And I said, I'm sure, Nairi, if you finish your career, you're only going to become a SNC or a trainer very well. He did, and he's become a coach and a mentor, which is a great thing. These are the small incidences we have.
Right.
Well, Vaibhav's been
Abhishek.
very kind with his showering of all these compliments. But for me, I think, Vaibhav spoke about, like I said, we've literally, he's talking about the under 16 West Zone camp, where we were living in this hotel called Hotel Aram. I don't even know
Haram.
people know of it in Bandra MIG. But, that was, I think Vaibhav was starting his career at that point. He was also young. I remember he had this hot girlfriend at that point, which he won't talk about now. So we as young kids used to eye his girlfriend a lot. But I think I remember very closely at that point of time where we also as young kids when we work with a physio, we want to have a relationship, right? We were there for a month and a half. We want to be able to talk to him. But I remember Vaibhav being a young guy, he actually behaved a lot like like friends would be. Uh, we never felt like he was looking after the place, but we never felt like we were talking to someone who was our physio of the team or who was training us. It was a very friendly relationship which made our month and a half comfortable for me. That was one instance in my career where I learned a lot as an individual, because it was my first big zonal camp. I was working with, at that point, the best coaches, best physios, best trainers of India. So it was my big league, and for me, I learned a lot, just in terms of, uh, I always looked at how people behave with each other. What exercises was Vaibhav given one person to someone else, how he was treating me and how he was treating someone else. I was always very curious. So for me, my first first great uh, period in terms of relationship of a physio and player was the under 16. It went up to obviously India A when we were in playing the emerging trophy in Australia. But for me, I think through the journey, I remember very clearly with Vaibhav, through those initial phases where we were always very scared of speaking to physios. Vaibhav was someone I would always trust in terms of knowing कि यार boss इसको कुछ बताएंगे तो at least हमारे दोस्त के बीच में है. It was that relationship we had, because I remember in the Mumbai setup it was so scary and intriguing that it was always fearful to go and speak to a physio and tell him what the problem was. But with Vaibhav that was never the case. We were never really worried because we knew he wouldn't rat us out and he would always be on our side. So for me, I feel like like Vaibhav has seen me evolve as a cricketer. I have seen Vaibhav evolve as a physio. We've literally grown through the ranks together. In, if I could say that, from me under 16 to under 19 to Ranji, and for him the same. From zone to Mumbai to then doing Maharashtra, then India A. Just that growth. IPL. It's been a growth for both of us together in our journeys, and literally to look back now and say that now head of department at Kokila Ben, and I'm with KKR. This feels great. We've had this relationship and we've all kind of grown together in our particular way. So I think we've had great memories, which is why we share this great relationship even today and still catch up and play football and have fun. It's because we started well, and Vaibhav put in that effort to make sure that our relationship goes on till what it is today. And I think that's a great learning to have, that for a physio to have that relationship, even though we've not always worked together, even till today, is a big congratulations towards him and his effort towards his work.
Right.
Thank you.
That's really amazing. So that brings us to an end for the questions from my end, and we have one question from the participants to Vaibhav sir.
Yeah.
So has the psychological aspect come in between a player and an injury for you at any point in time, where the problem was not the injury per se, but a mental block in the player's mind, and how did you manage that?
Yes, there have been instances in my whole career of whatever small career or whatever career experience I've had. There have been instances where there is a mental block towards an injury from a player. So it's very important to educate. I always give a lot of stress on injury education. Even today, somebody walks in my cabin in the Kokila and Ambani hospital. I don't directly do a quick assessment and start treatment. No, I need to counsel. I need to start you work with them. So make them understand what the injury is. So, and once you understand the injury and what kind of a treatment you're giving, it opens them out. They accept that treatment. Once they accept that treatment, the treatment really works. That's the main thing. So it is an injury education which is more important, and counseling before you really start anything. It's your communication is has to be very clear. Even Abhishek mentioned about it. Once we have that communication clear, you gain the trust of that particular athlete or a patient, whoever it is. It's not only about athletes; it's about even normal patients. You will be able to manage them pretty much very better.
Right. So we have another question for you from Atharva, who is an SNC, and he's practicing as an SNC, and he is asking that what are the different things that someone can observe when a player is in motion or when a player is doing his activity. So he says that he observes the way a person walks. What other factors can you suggest him?
Definitely. I mean, as an SNC, you got to keep on observing here, probably his biomechanics, probably his movements, his particular. If he's a fast bowler and he's struggling with a particular thing, possibly maybe he's collapsed. I mean, if you give an example, when you land on the landing leg and the leg is collapsing, just giving you a rough example. So probably there is some issue with the hip stability or the knee stability. So possibly these are the ones you probably can discuss that with the physio. I mean, you can observe that, tell the physio, work as a team, both of them observe it and then make a plan. So SNC coaches observing all these kind of minute movements of the sport will help them to build up individualized programs accordingly.
Right. So I think we have had an amazing session, and on behalf of PhysioConcepts Education, I would like to once again thank both our guests for taking out time from their extremely busy schedules and allowing us an opportunity to interview them. Abhishek, thank you for joining us from Dubai. I know you're in the midst of the preparation for IPL, and we wish you and KKR all the best for this year's IPL.
Thank you.
Vaibhav sir, thank you so much for coming over and sharing your experience of so many years. Thank you to Anuja and Jaskeet from PhysioConcepts for their support. And thank you for all the participants who attended today's session. We are coming up next Sunday with our webinar, which is part 3 of our Basics of Sports Radiology series. And this time we have renowned radiologist Dr. Malini Lavande discussing imaging of the knee joint complex. We hope to see you there. Stay safe till then, and goodbye for now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Satej. Thank you for hosting us.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nari.
Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the delay, everyone.
No,
but happy to be
no
here.
worries, Abhishek. Thank you. We are so happy you could join us, and we could have you over.
Thank
Lovely.
you. Thanks a lot.
Lovely, Nari. Wish you the best. I'll speak to you soon.
Just take care. Thank you, everyone.